As Patrick mentioned, my name is Michael Trask. I'm the Director of Sales for North America with LENSEC. And joining us today as well is Jeff Kellick, Chief Product Officer at LENSEC. So a couple things that we, the meeting today, or the session, what is a unified security platform? How can it benefit my organization? So those are, that is what our focus is going to be today. How we're going to step through this is we'll talk a little bit about what is a unified security platform, why should you deploy one. So we'll talk about that for a little bit. We'll talk about some examples of things that customers should look for in a unified security platform. Give you a little insight into how a unified security platform works. We will take a few minutes to show some of the power of a unified security system. And then we'll have, plenty of time for questions and answers that we could, that we could go through. So what I'll do, I'll start first here, take a little bit of time. What is a unified security platform, and why should I deploy it, and how will it help your organization? So first and foremost, we are talking about life safety and security. So in life safety and security, as everyone knows, every second matters. In today's world, there are so many security technologies available, lots of different manufacturers similar to LENSEC providing and creating life safety products. And in today's world, believe it or not, there's still a lot of people, a lot of organizations that still take a reactive approach to safety instead of a proactive one. So, when you're talking about a unified security platform, what we're talking about is taking these disparate systems, whether it's an access control system, an RFID system, an intrusion system, the list goes on, but taking all of these different systems that kind of operate on their own and bringing those all together into one platform so that you can, increase speed and to your response time. You can use automation that helps people become proactive in their approach to security, with the ultimate goal of creating a safer environment and saving lives. So we're not just talking about protecting assets here. We're talking about protecting human lives. So all of those seconds matter in those critical incidents. So being able to pull some of these, all of these systems into a unified platform that you can use the automation to help speed up that process really does make a big difference. I don't know, Jeff, if you had anything right off the bat with this first topic here about a unified security platform and any other benefits as to why people should be deploying one.
Yeah, I think you said it very well. A lot of our customers, really, when they come to us, they're trying to be proactive and think about those scenarios that maybe they've been trained on, maybe that they've had some situations that have occurred in the past and the lessons they've learned when they debriefed. So they really come to us with about saving those critical seconds. Not only saving that time, but then also empowering the individuals or users that are going to need to be reacting during that time. So ensuring they have proper credentials and logins and that they are trained. One of the things that we focus on from a software development standpoint is making sure that there is a natural level of intuitiveness to that platform as it's unified with all the different subcomponents, because people will forget. Their adrenaline will be flowing, and they're going to try and respond to this event. So no matter how well you're trained, you want to make sure that there's a natural, intuitive nature to the platform. So that's what we focus on, as well as that automation piece to save those seconds when they really matter. That's what we feel we can do in advance of a critical event occurring.
Yeah, those are great points, Jeff. Like you said, and another thing that saves time too is, if you can bring all of those disparate systems into a unified platform, and you can have all that automation going in the background to help you save those seconds. It also helps with instead of someone having to learn and be, the expert on 10 or 15 different pieces and parts of that security system, by being able to integrate those and being able to let the power of the system in the background do a lot of that work, a lot of those notifications, taking, we'll talk about this a little bit later today, but the power of workflows and that automation. So in our systems, we call it workflows, but that's using simple logic such as if this, then that logic. So if this happens, what do you want? What should the reaction be? So the triggers in a lot of these systems, in these workflows, are triggers that are coming from these other security technologies. Maybe it's a 4-store entry alert on a system. Maybe there's a license plate recognition analytic that's running, and there's a vehicle that is on, pulling into a parking lot or pulling into the school or something, and it's on a non-approved list. Maybe, for whatever reason, that vehicle has been told to stay off of property. Well, those types of things, when the analytic reads that license plate and it's on the non-approved list, then it can trigger all kind of other actions so that you're being proactive instead of, in this example, maybe that car pulls onto the property, gets out, comes in, and then there's some sort of critical scene happening or something happening that now you're reacting to and trying to stop the incident. If you get alerted as the car is pulling onto the property because this license plate recognition is on the non-approved list, and it's brought to your attention and pulled in front of your screen immediately, you can immediately have someone to intercede before that situation escalates to something where it's it can't be undone. So those are just a couple examples, or the 4-store entry alert, but there could be all kinds of other things. RFID systems, depending on where you are and what your type of deployment are. We're talking under vehicle surveillance, integrating with electronic fences, gates, ballards, all kind of different things, depending on the level of security that your deployment would require. But Jeff, I'll ask you something. One of the other things we have listed here are, what are some examples of things that customers, either should look for when they're looking at a unified security platform? What are some things they should consider?
Yeah, some of the things that you want to think about with your environment and the different subcomponents is, what are your procedures going to be? What are the outcomes that you're looking to achieve? How are the users interoperating with the different subsystems? Michael made a very good point about being trained on different systems and being able to, we use that word unify a lot, unify those component pieces into a central type of viewing and interacting interface. But really, what is it that you want your staff to do? Because you're going to have different types of assignments for different types of resources and staff that you have. So that's very helpful in planning that up front to give those types of permissions and credentials. One of the things that we're going to talk a little bit more about here is that capability to assign rights and privileges within software systems. As software systems grow, you're going to have a lot of power, a lot of assets, a lot of devices. But based on different staff roles and personnel, they may not have access to certain devices or certain screens or certain subcomponents. And a great way to eliminate confusion is to limit that based on those permissions so that they don't even see the things that they're not permissioned to see, so they're not getting confused trying to click on something that doesn't work, or having a false expectation of something for that particular role. So planning that out in advance, what types of users are going to see actions, as well as when different scenarios arise, is there going to be a change in permissions? A notable item is a lockdown scenario. So if there is an active shooter, we've had this discussion with a lot of our customers and debriefed after these events have happened. Critical seconds count, but you also have time where you don't want to have a lot of untrained users trying to make judgments or estimations on where they can go into certain areas. So we've been asked by different agencies to limit the views of the surveillance system, for example, in those types of conditions. So having the ability to restrict access and then making sure that the right people are elevated in their access, and the other people that you want to have limited in their access are limited. That takes some planning. It takes some forethought. It takes some design in what you want to achieve. That's just one example. There are several examples that you would want to go through as you're configuring your system, and having partners like Dobil to help you design those scenarios is very critical. And not only up front, but going through the life cycle of your systems, because you're going to get new technologies, you're going to have new component pieces that you want to incorporate, and then you'll want to incorporate the human element to the training and which people are going to use those devices.
Yeah, that's true, Jeff. Also wanted to, in this section, take a little time and ask, how does architecture and the type of development play a part in the selection process? You're obviously the chief product officer with LENSEC, the developer of Perspective EMS, which is a unified security platform. So how does can you give us a little bit more insight as to, how companies are developing products and how that plays a part?
Yeah, architecturally, one of the things that software companies are looking to do is ensure that there can be interoperability. So ensuring that communications can happen over the network. The other part of that is ensuring safety. Am I losing video there? Ensuring safety. Let me just make sure that I'm not overloading the system.
Yeah, your video was off for a little bit. It said it was unstable, but it's come back on.
Okay. So certain environments, for example, a common one is a SCIF, a secure compartmentalized information facility, where you can't have any outbound access into the facility. But that doesn't mean that the component pieces that are therein can't communicate with each other and have that interoperability. So when we're designing an architecture, we want to make sure that there is network capable communications. We also want to make sure that the data layer, the data that's communicating between the different subsystems, is able to be received. And a lot of times we do that now through APIs instead of just directly to databases or data sets, allowing for that kind of secure transmission of sensitive data back and forth. This is what allows that, the end result, those workflows that Michael was mentioning before. So having that in mind is something that's very important to us, as well as that human to machine interface that we mentioned. And we really do focus on that a lot, how the user experience is going to be defined in getting these different devices. But again, as Michael mentioned, architecturally, we're really looking for that interoperability. We're really looking to leverage interfaces and again, what we call APIs, programming interfaces that we can share information back and forth with other subcomponents.
Yeah, and Jeff, maybe touch base a little bit on some people may have older systems that are disparate systems, all individual standalone systems. Maybe you can talk a little bit quickly. Not too in the weeds, but a little bit more about maybe a distributed network or other ways that you can connect sites via maybe something like our interlink capabilities.
Yeah, there is especially in today's environment, we all kind of, every type of, we have one of these discussions now, you're going to have some portion of it that's going to talk about COVID, and I know we'll touch on that a little bit later too, but having that capability to access your site or sites, if you have multiple remote offices, if you have multiple remote schools, multiple remote facilities, to be able to access them in a distributed nature, and not only access them individually, but sometimes you need to cross compare. Sometimes you need to be able to see those views, those camera views, or the device actions side by side. One of the examples we'll show is here in Pittsburgh, and we have an office in Houston, and being able to see both of those at the same time as events are happening. In the education world, we often talk a lot about bus loops and being able to centrally monitor the buses that are coming at the various schools at the same time to keep an eye out for an event that may occur, because you have a lot of interaction with vehicles and people and those types of things. So you want to make sure everything goes smoothly. But the idea is that you're seeing all of those component pieces from different facilities geographically together in the same view. Allows you to process a lot more information quickly. So that's a big component. And whether or not you set those up through a constant distributed network, meaning that you have a continuous connection to all of those sites, or whether you use a federated system like our Interlink, where you are connecting to each of those sites kind of on demand, and bringing that together. Those are all options that are available depending on your network, depending on your environment. So you want to plan that out as well, that configuration of your architecture, architectural design.
Yeah, and something to consider too, we use a permissions-based system at LENSEC. So, that may mean that, Michael Trask may have permission to see all the cameras at site A. I may have permission to see cameras at site B and site C, but maybe I only have certain permissions to see, as Jeff, using Jeff's reference, maybe I only have permission to see the bus loop cameras and the main entrance cameras at site B and site C. But using a permission-based system, you can then maximize through this unified security platform, bringing in all these different pieces, but connecting all of these other sites as well, and using those permissions within the application and the platform to be able to maximize your employees, be able to keep eyes. But it also becomes very useful when, if an incident does happen at one of these other sites, having the ability to have immediate access to see those other locations as well, and can be kind of a makeshift command center, because you already have immediate eyes on the situation, and you can be reporting to the authorities as they're going, give them immediate access to the system as well. So we've talked a little bit about the unified security platform. What are some advantages to deploying one? What are some examples that customers should look for? Things they should kind of consider. We talked a little bit about the architecture. Why don't we spend a few minutes and we'll give you a little insight into how a unified security platform works. So I'm going to ask Jeff to go ahead and share his screen so that he can share with you, and we can show the LENSEC unified security platform to give you guys an idea of what this may look like.
Yeah, I would go ahead and I'll start. I'll make this a little bit larger. I know that depending on how your screen is set up, you may see different types of configurations. So what we've got here today is I'm going to be showing a system that is communicating between Pittsburgh, between Houston, as well as various cameras throughout the world. And this is one of our demonstration systems. This is using a video-centric approach, using our Perspective VMS platform to communicate to a couple of different subsets of components. And so some of these components we'll talk about. We'll talk about the different camera devices that we have here. We'll talk about access control and bringing in different devices. We'll also talk about different components like RFID and intrusion. All of these are components that can be brought in, including more advanced video analytics such as facial detection and facial recognition. We'll also touch on when events happen, how we want to be notified for that, and different options to notify those types of users. So what we're looking at here, I am connecting into this particular server or this particular site through a web browser. And one of the things we really enjoy about leveraging the web browser is it's available on every single device, whether that's a PC, whether that's a mobile device, whether that's a smart TV these days. It is something that is readily available. So you don't have to install something specific for it. And again, when you're talking about first responders, when you're talking about a large staff, a large organization of persons that are going to be accessing different resources on this platform for either security purposes or even every day-to-day operations. It's great that you don't have to download anything to be able to interact, to see these different types of camera views, to be able to run reports, even to be able to do configuration and administration depending on your permissions. That's all unified under one application, which is your native browser that is on that PC. Some of the other things that you'll see here as I'm using the browser, I'm logged in today as myself. Everything that's happening in there is audit trailed. So when you're working with a lot of disparate systems in a unified platform, you want to, one, make sure that they're permissioned correctly, as we mentioned, but then when they are used, that there is an audit of who has done what. If we've taken a video and we've uploaded it to YouTube, you want to see who made that extraction of that video. Working with the different sub
Patrick, we I don't know if we accidentally disconnected Jeff, but we have lost Jeff. So I'll let him know, see if he can jump back in here so we can talk a little bit about a little further and show you some more information. What I will do, I'll take this opportunity over in the side chat. I was posting that if anyone had any questions so far at this point on what they've seen, or maybe just general questions about unified security platforms, was going to ask that you just go ahead and post those questions in the side chat. So if anyone does have any questions at this time, we can take this little break in the action to answer some of those questions. Jeff has sent me a message. He was accidentally kicked off. He is trying to reconnect now, so we can jump into that. In the meantime, what I can do is I'll log into to our system that Jeff was showing in case he has a problem getting back on.
Just to follow up there on Michael, if anybody does have any questions or comments, there's that chat, and then there's questions. You can enter into either, and we'll get to them. We can get to them now while we wait on Jeff, or at the end of the session, we can kind of queue them up in there as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you have any questions. Jeff said he got kicked off. He's trying to reconnect, so I'm not sure if there's anything, Patrick, that that we need to do on your end. But if not, I don't know if there are any questions in the question section now. If not, what I can do is I can jump into and start sharing my screen and
Sure.
kind of pick up where Jeff was going. No questions that you see at this point, Patrick?
Nothing yet. Nope.
Okay. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, can you send another link to jkellick@lensec.com? It's saying it's not letting him sign back in on the link he originally had. Didn't know if that's something you might be able to create on the fly here.
Yep, we'll get it. We'll get him logged in. If you want to pick up from where he was, and we can get him
not a problem. Yep. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. If you can you confirm you're seeing my Perspective VMS screen?
Got it. Yep.
All right, great. Appreciate it. So what you're seeing here, as Jeff was talking about briefly, he was going into the maps is where he was going. So that was something he was talking about before. He also was talking about our system being written completely in HTML5. So it's a browser-based system. Now that does not mean that your system needs to be made available to the, it's on the World Wide Web, or it's made available for anybody. We talked about these being, this application being deployed in SCIF environments, in federal government secured environments where they cannot have outbound or inbound traffic. It's all locked in that certain, it's using the local area network to be able to communicate back and forth. So, but that, you're using an application that already exists on every one of those devices: phones, tablets, computers, workstations, and that's the internet browser. So as far as people who may be listening, end user customers that may be listening, that are end user customers that may be listening, that are in the IT department for customers, you don't have to manage a thick or thin client on someone's on everyone's computer. So that allows for more frequency of updating of the software, because when you update the software at the server, it doesn't break the connections with each of the individual users that are using the system. You update at the server, and then the next time they sign in, they've got the latest, greatest version of the software. So we as a company, LENSEC, we do anywhere from 4 to 6 updates a year. So, because we want people to be taking advantage of the latest integrations that have come on, adding new products that have come on that we can integrate to further enhance your deployment, but also that then gives the ability to just stay on top of all the latest and greatest security trends as well. So that is something that we do. And I wanted to circle back. So as you can see here, I have multiple tabs across the top of my screen that I'm sharing with you. And when I take this full screen, that's what it gives you. We want this to be very quick and easy for people to understand and be able to use. So you see all the different modules that I have permission to do at least something within that module. So it shows up here. If I didn't have permission to do something, it wouldn't be here, because we don't want to, it's a what you see is what you can do type of an approach. We don't want to confuse people, and we want there to be a easy adoption and adaption of the product. So I'll just jump in real quick, and I'll show you a couple things. And
Michael, while you're there, I just want to let you know that I am back.
Okay,
I got
great.
out there for a minute, but I am back.
Yeah, well, what I'll do is I'll stop, Jeff, because you have your system's interconnected to a couple different systems. So I'll stop sharing and let you go ahead and pick up where you left off. All right. So Jeff is back.
Yeah, so I saw there, Michael, you were just kind of touching on some more of the browser features. I don't know if you got into search or anything yet at this point while I was gone away.
No, we were checking to see if there was any questions at the meantime, okay. And then I started sharing my screen and was kind of picking up. You were at the map, so I quickly talked about the HTML5 structure. And then was going to jump into the maps where you were when we lost your connection.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so one of the things that Michael just mentioned too was that user adoption. And a lot of times we go through training and we talk with different partners, different users all over the world, and ask how they learn, how they get familiar with certain subsystems. One of the easiest ways is to just search. We've all been using search now for 30 years, right? So just being able to quickly say, I want to see what's on the first floor, I can just start typing first, and I'm immediately going to be able to be taken to that first floor action there. I just lost my map on that. If I want to look, for example, at the PTZ camera, I can immediately type in PTZ. I'm going to be taken to that PTZ camera, whichever camera it is on the list. You can see we have a whole gamut of them between training items, testing items. They're all on the list. If I wanted to see different types of administration components, they can be seen as well. Different types of maps, different types of users based on your permissions. To be able to quickly see those types of views. you can see them directly from here. So here's the monitor views right now that we're looking at this point, just because I was able to search on that. So,
Jeff, and that's something to point out there too, when we're talking unified security platform, when you're typing in and you're searching, can think of this more like a Google search. It's, but what you're doing is our system uses a SQL Server database on the back end. So when Jeff's typing in items in that search, it is searching all the database tables that Jeff has permission to see, but it's also going to bring back events that are related to other unified systems that have been unified. So here it's bringing back a video that Jeff's showing. That is a mobile camera or a body worn camera that was on the passenger of a car as he was driving, and so it's looking through the window. But that is something that's coming into the system, and when he searches for it using that global, we call it global search, then he can quickly get to those items and review those. Once again, another step that saves a lot of time. If you're looking for something quickly and you get an alert or a message in the system from another user or something that alerts you that you need to be looking at something, you can quickly find it by just typing into that search.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And not even just the events here. We have a scene of a robbery that was pulled in, and we tagged that specifically the robbery, but also different types of system alerts. If you have devices go offline, you're going to be able to see those types of things too, to find that kind of history of those events. And we'll get more to that on the health. But again, just a global search, a way to navigate that a little bit easier. Some other types of things that really make for that adoption is that top navigation bar to be able to jump in back and forth to different types of maps that you're looking for, different types of camera viewers, be able to jump back and forth, or if you're looking at something forensically in archives. I'll stay on the maps here for just a moment. And again, I am in the Pittsburgh office right now, but I'm looking specifically at our Houston office because maybe at this time we don't have anybody in the office space. And this happens a lot right now with remote facilities that have on days or off days, as we're back to kind of a hybrid work environment in this particular time period. So if a delivery person came in, being able to react with that and log them in, log them off. Example here, as I look to a larger type of a map environment, may see all of the different types of facilities. And if you're not using the global search and you want to use a more methodical kind of drill down approach, you can see your different types of property maps that you would have at that facility. You may have a specific school or facility that you want to look at a satellite view of that operation, or again, drilling back into that first floor and being able to see that door as that person comes in. And then because it is a unified system, being able to lock, unlock, and pulse that door, actually letting somebody in and seeing that valid access of that person as they come in to that facility. That's something you want to be able to see. Again, here from Pittsburgh, I can see that remotely in Houston.
We talk about not needing to have 4 and 5 different platforms all open on your screen, and depending on what your screen real estate is or how many monitors you have, that may minimize some of the screens if you need to be looking at video. So being able to have the system integrated, as Jeff was just showing, and be able to lock the doors right from there. It's communicating directly with the access control system, but then you also have all of the transactional information that's coming in as well into this system. So you're able to keep one large, you can keep this as your main screen because all of those other platforms are working in conjunction in a unified system behind the scenes. So I don't know if you can quickly just slide open the side panel for the doors, Jeff. This is where that, Jeff showed where you'd be able to unlock and lock the doors, but here's where all the transactional information, the in and out and uses and all the different alerts related to that access control platform. This is coming directly from that system, it's attaching the appropriate video, but then you can do further forensic reviews and items from that. So I just wanted to point out kind of how this unifies that system. Once again, you don't have to have that whole other platform taking up one of your monitors.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know, as you're working on different things operationally, this allows you to keep a good grasp of your security platform. And again, looking at those events as they occur from different angles, maybe something that your staff member, your team member is instructed to do. And they can do that within the context of keeping this all together on one screen. So that is another useful approach to that. The other part is, as I've kind of alluded to right at the very beginning here, you may be in the environment where you need to be looking at multiple things within the system at once. And since it is a browser-based system, you can actually do that. You can see maps, forensics, even different types of events all at once on your screen. That's customizable for your individual users. And as we're talking about different users, users have their options to set their own types of preferences as well. And so whether it's something as simple as just changing the default language for that particular user, or whether it's changing what happens when they log in, you know, simple things operationally as far as automation shortcuts, even so much as logging into the right page immediately, save a lot of time and frustration for the users and allow them to get to their work assignments as they need to. So, for example, this particular user, when they log in, will go directly to the camera viewer, and they can define which views they're going to see when they log in. It's a big help for them. Okay. You know, as we look at that camera viewer, here I am looking at this view full. You know, we can take it up full screen to get a better view of that. Have different types of functions to remotely pan and look at that. But even so, if I was right here on this screen, and we had that same type of instance, maybe I got a phone call and somebody's asking, hey, can you let me into that door? I'm with FedEx or UPS. You can do that right here as well. Again, based on your permissions, of course. But you could lock, unlock, and pulse that door, again, you know, thousands of miles away. That's a completely different system, this access control system that's embedded in here, but allowing you to do that visually and interact with that item. Of course, there's different types of views that you can set up, and I'll go ahead and I'm just going to show different types of arrangements. Maybe you have a use case that you want to bring in and look at a hallway. Maybe I want to look at this back office PTZ. You can see all of those kind of together on that type of view, and you can change those around. It's about that flexibility for your user, what they need to do at that particular time, even so much as just jumping around and saving different types of presets that they're looking at, preset views. And as I mentioned, you know, when we're looking at these types of preset views, we can have them interlinked. So here I am in the Pittsburgh office, and I want to interlink them back. We come right back to this kind of this 5-up view here, looking at Pittsburgh and this front office. Okay. One thing that you know, we kind of mentioned when we're looking at these types of views is what happens when we do this event. I'm actually nobody's standing out there at the door right now, but I'll go and I'll pulse that event. What we've configured this system to do, this particular one, is immediately jump with these pop-up windows. And I actually think, Michael, that was something that you programmed or you configured into our system.
Yeah, that's correct, Jeff. And actually, based on user permissions, when Jeff pulsed that door, since Jeff and I are under the some of the same user groups, that permission and that workflow also popped up. I happen to be signed in myself as a user, and that didn't just pop up on Jeff's screen, but it pops up on my screen as well. So that is a nice feature. You know, something else, couple other items. I know we have got about 20 minutes left, so wanted to also touch base on you know, some collaboration tools of a unified security platform. You know, I'll you know, talk a little bit about a share view, Jeff. I'll pull up a share view and I'll share it with you so we can demonstrate to the users how that works and how, you know, because I want to talk a little bit about automated workflows and how we can, saving time for customers, what types of things that are built, that they should be considering when they're looking at unified security platforms. So I'm going to go ahead and create a 3-up share view, and while you're talking, I'll share that view, Jeff, so we can demonstrate that.
Yeah, well, a share view is a great way to collaborate, and it's so much easier if Michael were to call me up and say, "Hey, look, Ed's in the kitchen. He did this at 10:32, but he also was in the Three Rivers office, and he was stealing stuff at 9:15. Look, you can see he's in these 2 places." Instead of describing all that to me over the phone, he can simply set up a share view, and with that share view, I can immediately jump to whatever he's trying to describe. And that is an interactive view within the system. It is not a separate type of application that you would need to go to. It's not a static screenshot. It is a dynamic view within the system. So it really allows for that real-time communication. And you can see while I was talking, Michael pushed that view directly onto me. So if it's really urgent, you can even overtake their system and tell them what you want to see. Funny enough, this is also used a lot in reception areas, where you don't want to go and pull out the keyboard and mouse for a particular machine or smart TV. You just want to push a specific view up to that. You have that functionality, that option is one of your choices here, is to actually push that share view immediately on top. So, and that's what Michael did here for me now.
Yeah, and that's something that, where that maybe work, you have an access controller, that on the front door that has a button associated, they push that button, and when that button's pushed, maybe there's not a receptionist sitting at the right there at the desk, but someone else in the office. It'll change the interface, so they immediately have a view from that entrance camera to see who's standing there. They don't, but that's an example where someone's pushing a button. That's not necessarily a critical security event. But it talks about the automation of using multiple systems and platforms that can be different triggers that can automatically alert you, bring things immediately to your attention so you can save those precious seconds if it does happen to be a critical incident. I probably should have not put the Spain Beach camera up here, as I'm sitting in Pittsburgh today, and we got a nice little dusting of snow here in the late ends of April.
Yeah, I was wondering if you did that purposefully to just kind of rub it in a little bit.
Right. We've got about 15 minutes left. So before we take any questions, Jeff, maybe also something that's very critical with this system is health alerts.
It is. And while you were talking, I was also just showing some forensics. Doing forensic searches on data is something that's very simple to do within a system. You want to be able to run back on that. But all of that is not effective if the health of your system is failing. And so being able to look at the status of your devices real time, and also being alerted on those devices should one of those items go offline. In our lab in Houston, we have a lot of testing cameras that we put up that will go offline. And we do that so that we can prove that, hey, we're going to be alerted when this event happens, when this device is no longer, maybe there's a storm and the lightning strikes the camera. You need to know that camera is offline. Moreover, you need to know how long that camera's been offline as you're looking for kind of an audit of your security surveillance system. Another thing that really is helpful there is understanding the how much data your system is consuming. And so looking at your archive status, archives are recordings, it's archive data. You can see the actual consumption of each individual camera, and if there are any days where that camera was offline for various reasons. You can also see the storage footprint of each of those individual cameras. This really helps in understanding, are you meeting your target retention goals? Maybe your requirement is 45 days, maybe it's 120 days, maybe it's 30 days. You can see, are each of those cameras receiving that? And is there any data that you protected or locked over that course of that camera? And just a real brief aside, I'll talk about archive locks just for a second, because this goes into the entire subsystem of the cameras. There may be a scenario where you have an investigation that's ongoing, and the attorney might say to you, hey, we may need evidence of all of your cameras held for an extended period of time. First off, if there's any event that happens, you can extract that data out. That robbery we showed earlier, or any other type of extraction that you have, you can take this data and you can send it out and you can download it in a non-proprietary format that can be played back in any courthouse across America, across the world, wherever you need to play it. But sometimes you need to actually protect your data from being overwritten. So we have something that we created, and it's called archive locks. And this archive lock feature came out. It really did happen. There was an assault case that was happening where they found the video. They used that extraction of the assault for the suspect. The prosecuting attorney said, we may need to see a pattern of behavior. So can you save the video? I don't know where he was on your campus, but can you save the video from all the cameras on the campus for the past week? And so they asked, how can we do that quickly? And we created an archive lock. And so if we just say that this is an assault example, and we're saying all of the cameras from the BP campus, real quickly, just like that, I identified all those cameras from the BP campus, and I said, I'm going to save them for the past week. What that does is it takes that video and it marks it that it cannot be deleted. And at that time, it will tell you that that video is consuming, and I know it's hard to see there with the screen resolution, that video is consuming 1.3 terabytes of data. So if you want to keep that video there indefinitely, you can simply add 2 terabytes somewhere on the network that will be something written to in the future. And that example, that assault example, they kept that video for 5 years before they adjudicated the case and were able to delete that video. So that archive lock is a great feature. Real quick, saving time on that. And again, in those health reports that we were just talking about, that is actually identified there as well, and it shows you how much of that video is being consumed. Michael, a good report that I know that you're fond of and that you've talked with a lot of users on is this snapshot report. If you want to give a real quick kind of explanation on that.
Yeah, and first, before I touch base on the camera snapshot report, but it just goes back to other things that you need to consider when you're talking about upgrading your system to a unified security platform. Some of these health statuses, we've all probably, if you've been in the security industry long enough, or it's either happened to you or you've had it, you've heard a story about it happening to someone else, but you never want to, it goes back to the proactive versus reactive. You never want to have a reactive situation where, we had this incident, and you go back and there's no video because either the hard drive wasn't archiving because it had failed, or the camera had failed and it was no longer online, so it wasn't recording, it wasn't streaming to record anything into the archives. You never want to have that, that pit, that just sinking stomach and pit in your stomach that, hey, I know something happened. It was right in view of this camera. You go back to pull the video up and there's nothing there. Jeff's pulling up these reports dynamically on the fly, but all of these items, you want to consider this when you think about a unified security platform is what are the health reporting, and can that stuff automatically be sent out? You'll be alerted, not just by alerts within the system, but it can send out automatic emails and let you, make you aware, not just of the status of a camera, if it goes offline or offline, if something stops archiving, it could tell you as well, hey, maybe get alerts on the C drive. Maybe there's a couple Windows updates that have gone on that are kind of sitting in the C drive, and your C drive utilization is kind of getting backed up. All of these types of things at LENSEC, we consider anything that may affect the operation of this unified security platform. So we're monitoring all of these things, but bringing them to your attention so that you don't have these, minimizing these chances of going back to review something and then something not being there and something wasn't working and you weren't aware of it. We're trying to make you aware of all that stuff. So you definitely want to consider how robust the health reporting in the administration type features are of a system that you're considering. Jeff was talking about the camera status report. Just a small aside, there was a community college in the territory that police officer had to come in every single morning, and their first hour to 15 minutes of their day, they were opening up every single individual camera to make sure that the camera was online. They were also then, had to view it first to make sure it was online, and then also make sure that something didn't happen to that camera since the previous day. Did someone, spray anything on it? Did a branch fall off a tree and knock it down so it was now looking somewhere else? Did somebody climb up and move that camera, tamper with it so it wasn't showing an area where they may have been, doing something nefarious? So, with simple, just 2 quick reports, Jeff showed previously the camera status report. This other report, the camera snapshot report, takes a picture, and as you're seeing a lot here that say no data available, those are testing cameras that we're using in our system that are purposely offline. But if a camera was offline for any reason, it would show this way on the camera snapshot report. Now, if you knew it was offline, maybe there's construction going on or something, or you temporarily had to take it offline, you can also mark that camera out of service. I believe at the bottom of the second column, there's one there that says out of service, or maybe it says no. On one of those, it's a little hard to see, but you can mark it out of service so it's purposely offline. But
and even seeing if one is upside down, maybe there was with the famous spider web, right, that builds inside the camera view. The camera's online, you wouldn't necessarily get an alert that camera's offline, but that field of view has been somewhat distorted. And in this example, you can see this camera is turned upside down. Maybe it came off of its hinges in real life, and the camera's now upside down. So it's
that's a great point too. Sometimes, and Dobil's had these issues where they need to mount a camera a certain way for one, or they sometimes accidentally, you think you're putting it right side up, you get down there, you open it up, you view it, and it may be upside down, or it may had to have been turned a certain way. Well, the system allows you to correct that. The snapshot takes it as it is without any editing or changing to it. But within our system, we could go in and automatically, change the position of that camera. So when you're viewing it, it views it at 180 degrees different than what it currently is. So it would save you time from maybe getting the truck ladder back out, or getting up there and taking it down, repositioning, doing something. But these 2 reports that we were referencing in this story automatically get emailed every single morning at 6:30 to that officer. They come in, they open it up their inbox. They've got those 2 reports that were just run. They quickly look over them. Now they've gotten back an additional hour of their time. They were spending an hour to an hour and 15 minutes going through that process every single morning that they came to work. And now they would get the 2 reports, and within 5 minutes, that process is done, and they can start working on other more important things. So there's all kinds of things to consider when you're looking at unified security platforms. But we at LENSEC take an approach of, trying to do everything that's going to help save time, efficiencies, easy to learn and adapt and adopt a product. And we have an agile development mindset. So we are constantly doing upgrades, constantly doing, a series of 10 week-long sprints and adding new features to stay current and bring in new integrations and new products. And if there's a product out there that you're a customer of Dobil and you have something deployed at your site that you want to see if it can be integrated into the system, ask Dobil. They'll reach out to us. We can look at, as long as it's not a proprietary software, we could look at adding to our product roadmap. And integrating that into the system to make your system even more efficient for you. So
one of the things that has come up recently is taking advantage of different, we talk about different components. One of the components that is very frequent is the using different analytics on cameras. And being able to incorporate those in is a big deal. As you can see here, we've got some that we brought in from different types of cameras. seeing different motion alerts that are happening. And the no face mask alert too is another one that has really kind of, you can see here this time, I'm not wearing a face mask, and that is detected by the camera itself. And so that's feeding into the system and allowing you to make actions upon that. So maybe if you had dual audio, you wanted to speak down and say, hey, this is for this particular time period, there is a mask policy in place. One of the funny things, I spoke to my son who's 16, and I lamented the fact that, of course, as everybody does, this world, we have to wear masks in certain places. And he said, Dad, afterwards, this exact analytic is perfect for when people are wearing a mask. If you're in a bank and you're afraid of being robbed, somebody's wearing a mask, you let them know that. That's a great thing.
That came in, how much is a free system from us, from Connor, who happens, if you for Dobil, if you have, we have trial versions of the software that anyone can download. We'll give you licenses to try out systems, to get familiar with it. In this case, Connor, working with Dobil, works for Dobil, we can, he'll have access to a system that, an enterprise class system that he can install in his house at no cost and continue to get familiar with it. But when we talk about end users as well, since it's a browser-based system, if the system is deployed at your office, and Jeff, our Houston demo is demo.lensec.com. That is our live production site of our first floor office and corporate headquarters in Houston. So you can access that from anywhere. If you went to your house without having to install anything on your computer at home, if you wanted to be looking at the system and you had user ID and credentials to get into that system, you open up any device, any computer, go to demo.lensec.com. In this example, put your user ID and credentials in, and you can be looking at that system at your house from home. Once again, if you have user ID and credentials to that system. But if you go to lensec.com, and you want to find out more information, you could go there, look at information we have on our website. You can reach out to Josh Blake or any of the security professionals at Dobil, and they would be more than happy to share information with you. But yeah, we do give there are trial systems that you can have for a month with some camera licenses that we'll give you for free. You can look at the system.